Okay, so as we're coming into the week of June 17th, a couple of things I want to mention before we jump into charts and do an overview of the markets. Here's what we got going on this week. So last week we were coming off a cautious Fed. And what I mean by that is the Fed didn't cut, the Fed didn't raise. There was really, nobody's surprised about what happened last week. But I want to mention this that we're down to maybe one cut by the end of the year, and of course, there's a lot of people, myself included, that think that might be off the table. We might not even see any cuts because the economy is it's strong. It's stronger than I think the Fed, a little bit stronger, but it's stronger than what the Fed thought we'd be at right now. Microsoft and Apple are getting upgrades again. More AI headlines, and I think that's what's kind of causing them to a lot of the talking heads to say, hey, Microsoft's target needs to be higher. Hey, Apple's target needs to be higher. The tech industry has got their eyes on Micron for next week. I believe Micron announces on the 26th. Most tech companies so far this quarter have beat their Q2 earnings, right? We've talked about this in several of these sessions together, and just want to put that out there for everybody once again. And then finally, hey, how about this? It isn't often that we close the markets in the middle of the week for a day, but Juneteenth is on Wednesday, and the markets will be closed. So we got a shortened trading week as well. Let's take a look at some charts. I've got some new looking charts. All right. So this is the S&P 500. I haven't changed the target on this. The target is still the same. Last time we got together, we were trading around the 525 mark. And lo and behold, here in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a bit of a bump. And now we're trading up in the 540s. So we still have 550 to 580 as a target. 550 could come literally any time. 580, however, I think that's going to take us through the summer before that can happen, but definitely on track. Now, what is it that I have on this chart that I have not mentioned before? This is Keltner channels. All right, I'm going to talk about what Keltner channels are. I'm going to do a quick summary on those here in just a few minutes. But just keep in mind, Keltner channels are a volatility channel. We'll talk about trend and we'll talk about spacing here in just a moment. But as you can see, the Keltner channels are pointed in the upward direction, which is what we're looking for here on the S&P 500. The bond market, and again, I mentioned this the last time that we were having this discussion. Bond market's actually showing a lower target. TLT, which is the 20-year Treasury bond ETF, has a target out here at around this 83 to 87.5 area. Now, that all depends on, I got to say, if the bond market gets above this 90, let's call it 96.5. We get above 96.5, this might go neutral. Right now, this trend is still in a downward trend, and we're showing bonds kind of drifting lower between now and sometime October, November. This is not a short-term chart. This is a multi-month chart. All right, moving forward. Here's USO. And again, a couple weeks ago, we were looking at USO, and I said we're in that Goldilocks range for USO. I think hot would be anything above 85. I think cold would be anything below 65. And in the last few weeks, we've jumped from 75 down to 70, back up to 75, sitting around, I want to say, just under 77 right now. So we're closer to the resistance area than we are the support area for USO. Moving on. Again, here's that surprise commodity of the year, and that's GLD. Gold has really kind of jumped since the October lows down here in the 175, 180 range. Really got the breakout. That breakout really happened in April as we crushed above 200, got up into the 220 area, not once, but twice, pulled back, still holding that support above 210. We've got longer term targets, though, around the 242 to 252 area. All right, these are those Fibonacci extensions that we see. And then again, this is another long-term target October, November is what we're seeing on GLD. Now, I got to say, a lot of this depends on that rate cut that everybody's talking about here sometime in September. All right, let's jump into cryptocurrency, where you're going to see a little more color on the screen, as I have pointed out, again, with Keltner charts on here as well. Notice the Keltners on Bitcoin. They've gotten wide. They got real wide in April, and they're moving sideways. And so you don't see a target up, you don't see a target down. What we have is resistance and support. Resistance on Bitcoin. I've got the all-time high resistance at 73.5, and then I've got this monthly resistance. Really kind of takes us back to May and June around 71.5, 71.5. You look at the support levels look like this: 65.5, all right? And that's the first area of support that you see. We're on that right now. We are on support right now for BTC. We dropped below that. And then, yes, you do have a 60,000 round number, but then we see the next fib support levels around 57,000. And that were the lows that happened at the beginning of May. You got to go back 2 months to find that. And then we're going to look at Ethereum. So Ethereum, I also put Keltners on, and the Keltners on Ethereum were up until, going kind of sideways here in the months of April and May. Resistance on Ethereum, 4,000. Support on Ethereum, I have at 28.50. We have a target on Ethereum. There's an upside target on Ethereum. This is based on Fibonacci extension levels going into October, November at around 5,000. Okay. So some summary notes on Keltner channels. Let's talk about Keltner channels here as we end out our market outlook. Keltner channels, first of all, they're volatility bands. Okay, that's why you see them kind of getting far apart and then kind of squeezing together. So it is based on volatility, and this is statistical volatility of the asset that we're looking at. It does use the exponential moving average, or what's called EMA. The upper and lower bands, all right, those are typically set at 2 times the average true range. That's the ATR, above and below the exponential moving average. So if I were to back up a bit here, and let me see if I can actually do that. I may not be able to back up here. Let's try. Oh, here you go. So you've got your exponential moving average in here, and that can be set to whatever you think about. Most people set it at 20. Then you've got your standard deviations above and below, and that's what creates the Keltner channel. So the more this thing moves around, the wider this channel gets. The smaller it moves around, the thinner the channel gets above and below the EME. All right, so that's the third point. Fourth, if you reach the upper band, it's bullish. If you reach the lower band, it's bearish. And then the angle, that's the overall movement of the Keltner band, also helps you identify trend direction. So there you go. So we've so far taken a look at news headlines for the week, what's going on in stocks and bonds, commodities, and crypto. And finally, thought we'd do a little bit with something I look at every once in a while, which are Keltner channels.